Hello, Sarah. Today's video comes to you from the library. Why, you may ask? Because I'm going to talk about a very important book from my childhood, and that would be Curious George. The series was written and drawn by the team of Hans Augusto Rey and Margaret Rey. The couple fled Paris in June 1940 on self-made bicycles, carrying the Curious George manuscripts with them. At first, only H.A. Rey was credited for the work in order to distinguish the Rey's book from the large number of children's books written by female authors. Later, Hans Rey was credited for the illustrations and Margaret Rey for the writing. The Reys produced many other children's books, but the Curious George series was the most popular. The books have been re-edited continuously in the 6 decades since the first volume came out. The first book, just titled Curious George, appeared in 1941. It begins with George living in Africa and tells the story of his capture by the man with the yellow hat, who takes him on a ship to the big city where he will live in a zoo. Later, George escapes from the zoo and has several adventures before the man in the yellow hat finds him and takes him to live at his house. Sometimes dubbed the Original Adventures, the first 7 books, made from 1941 to 1966, are the only books that are completely created by Margaret and H.A. Rey. Before appearing in his own series, Curious George actually appeared as a character in another children's book written and illustrated by H.A. Rey in 1939, called Cicely G. and the 9 Monkeys. The only other recurring character in the Original Adventures, other than George himself, is the man in the yellow hat. He is always seen wearing a bright yellow suit and a wide-brimmed yellow hat. He is said to be modeled after Adlai Stevenson II, who was the 31st governor of Illinois and the Democratic nomination for president in 1952 and 1956. At first I thought it might have been his grandpa, Adlai Stevenson I, who was a congressman of Illinois and later became the 23rd Vice President of the United States under Grover Cleveland. But then I looked at his picture, and nope. The man is never mentioned by name in the Original Adventures, or in any subsequent content over more than 6 decades. This tradition was broken in the 2006 film, in which the man is referred to as Ted. Many people thought that the movie makers had given him a name and didn't like it. However, in an Open the Flap book titled See the Circus, published January 1st, 1956, H.A. Rey illustrated a man who looks very much like the man in the yellow hat, wearing a blue and white polka-dot handkerchief. The caption on the page reads, "Ted has a tricycle, so very small, he cannot ride it because he's so tall." Therefore, naming him Ted was not unprecedented at all. The reason I like Curious George so much is not just because it was such a staple in my childhood, reading those books and learning to read, but also I have a few family ties involved. Since the Original Adventures, they've revamped it 2 or 3 times, and it just so happens that my Uncle Mike is one of the illustrators. And if you look in any of the new series books, you'll see his name there, M. Jensen, for Mike Jensen. And that, Sarah, is why Curious George is amazing. Sarah, I'll see you on Monday.